Tēnā koutou katoa. He uri tēnei no inia, ko Qamar Shamim Rawa, ko Anisa Rahman o kukou mātua, ko Kirikiri Roa toku whatu manawa, ko Waikato te awa e mahi anei aku maharahara. Ke Kirikiri Roa aho e noho ana I nai nei, ko Anjum Rahman tuku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everyone. This is our webinar today that's focusing on immigration. My name is Anjum Rahman. I'm based in the Waikato and I would just like to acknowledge mana whenua here, which is Ngāti Wairiri, Ngāti Mahanga and Ngāti Hawa. I'd also like to acknowledge the Kingitanga and King Tuheitia. So I'm going to start the session off with the karakia. Puritia mai rā te tika hei kōrero. Puritia mai rā te pono hei wānanga. Puritia mai rā te aroha hei awhina I te nākau a tangata. Kia tū, kia ātia, kia marama, hui e, tai ki e.
Tai ki e.
So welcome everyone again, and let me just quickly introduce the session. So the session is based on immigration policy for Aotearoa, New Zealand, which should be based on Te Tiriti o Waitangi and prioritise partnership and consultation with tangata whenua, recognising Māori rights and interests. At the same time, New Zealand's immigration policy must demonstrate cultural competence, equity and fairness to all immigrants and their families, irrespective of duration of their stay, ethnicity, disability and or their health concerns. Their safety in the local community they settle in during religious gatherings and at their workplaces must be assured. So today we have three panellists that will be exploring the rights of immigrant workers, disabled migrants and migrants with health conditions to be safe and to flourish within a tiriti-based multicultural framework and amendments that may be required to legislations impacting on this segment of our population. So before I hand over to the three speakers, very quickly what we'll be having today is each speaker will speak for 10 minutes and then there will be some space for question and answers. So I wanted to remind you all of our community code because we want this space to be welcoming and safe for everyone. So there are some guidelines there about being curious, open and respectful, making generous assumptions about people rather than suspicious ones, being confidential about what might be said here, one person speaking at a time, and each person speaking from their own experience. We know that we're here to learn from each other and make space, and that we, I love that last one, not taking ourselves too seriously. So moving on to the next slide. We have accessibility information there, particularly around live captions. So I'll just leave that up for a moment for you all to go into the website if you need to and enter the password and so on. And can we also have some of this information in the chat in case people need it or latecomers will need it. I will very quickly introduce the speakers and their bios are all on the Te Tiriti Base Futures website. So our first speaker will be Umi Asaka, who is a disabled researcher and writer and a second generation disabled person sharing the same disability as her mum. She moved to Aotearoa from Japan when she was 15 and she organises with Migrants Against Acceptable Standards of Health Aotearoa to end the discrimination based on disability and health grounds within the immigration system. Our next speaker will be Anu Kaloti, who is a social justice activist. She's one of the founding members and current president of the Migrant Workers Association of Aotearoa. Anu and her family migrated to Aotearoa in 2003, and soon after she started volunteering with Unite Union and a project to unionize migrant workers in the fast food sector. And that was the precursor to Migrant Workers Association, which was launched in 2012. And our final speaker will be Panchanarayan, who was born in Malaysia and has now called Aotearoa home for 31 years. He's the current national president of Multicultural New Zealand, whose passion and commitment to achieving better settlement outcomes for migrants. And he's paving the way for a Te Tiriti-based multicultural Aotearoa. So thank you, all our speakers, for giving up your time to be here with us today. So I will now be sharing my screen and we'll hand over to Umi to start your presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Anjum. Tēnā koutou katoa, he uri aho no hapani, he tangata whaikaha o, ko Umi Asaka toku ingoa. Thank you so much for your introduction, Anjum. So today I will be talking about the impact of immigration policy on disabled peoples and people with health conditions. And on the slide, the title says Expensive Burdens, How Aotearoa New Zealand Immigration Policy Undermines Disabled People's Human Rights and Ideas for Taking More Equitable Approach. And this came from a book chapter we have written and which was published later last year. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so before I share more about the immigration policy, I would like to acknowledge how disability was understood or conceptualized within Te Ao Māori. And I would also like to acknowledge Matua Ike and Dr. Fuhana and many other disabled Māori people who have shared the perspective and knowledge with us. And that within Te Ao Māori, disability was seen through collective understanding, and it was not some individual deficit, but rather it was often seen as a strength and gifts that had a given status. And so that way disability has been understood has changed through colonization as well. Next slide, please. And so before colonization, there was an internal migration protocols within Te Ao Māori, and which was based on relationship, and there was inherent respect for tangata whenua, and so that relationship was negotiated between tangata whenua and manuhiri based on the relationship. And these were written by Dr. Kylie Quince and Dr. Murata and Dr. Tahu Kukutai, and these acknowledgement of value-based immigration is really important point to come back to. Next slide, please. However, after the colonization, the Crown government created series of immigration policy from the late 1800s, which restricted certain type of people from entering countries, except European migrants. And one of them was the Imbeciles Passenger Act 1882, which restricted basically disabled people and people with health conditions to enter the country. And further, in 1899, the Immigration Restricted Act basically banned disabled people from entering the country. And some of the words used in this immigration policy or act refers to derogatory term for disabled people. So I'm not gonna repeat what it said in original document, but it deemed people with disability and people with health conditions to be burden or contagious to the country, so they should not be allowed to enter. And next slide, please. And these, what underpinned this kind of immigration policy was ableism and eugenics, which placed certain person's body and mind as being fully human or perfect, and on the other side placed people who didn't fit into certain type of body and mind as inferior and lesser. Therefore it should be avoided. And the term ableism can be understood as the root term for any other isms such as ageism, racism, sexism, disableism, and classism. By that understanding that ableism places certain body and mind as the perfect body. And eugenics is more of like the thinking or the tool that has been used to really target and exclude and marginalize and sometimes exclude from being born or exclude from the society in an effective way. And so this immigration policy really reflected this idea that disabled people were not supposed to be part of the body, part of the society, because they didn't fit the perfect body and mind type that was desired. Next slide, please. And so while this immigration policy is not in place anymore, and there was a certain period of time in New Zealand where disability and health condition wasn't part of the immigration policy. In the early 1990s and in 2005, they established a new policy called Acceptable Standard of Health Requirements. And it's designed to ensure that people entering New Zealand do not impose excessive costs and demands on New Zealand health services or special education services. And what it does is it effectively discriminates against disabled people and people with health condition and reduce people with disability into a cost value rather than seeing them as somebody who has an inherent value as a human being. Next slide, please. And so a group of disabled migrants and their allies have come together and we've created the collective called Migrants Against Acceptable Standard of Health, Aotearoa. And we work with the vision, which is on this slide, that says all migrants, refugees, and our families have equitable chances to feel welcome and supported in Aotearoa, New Zealand. No one has to worry about facing disability and health-based discrimination from the immigration system. Aotearoa's immigration policy honors the Tiriti o Waitangi and affirms the value of diversity of migrants across all areas of life. And next slide, please. So we have been, our focus has been individual advocacy as well as systemic advocacy. And we have worked with numbers of families with children with disability who were affected by the policy and disabled individuals themselves. And some of our story has gone into One News and New York Times and many different medias. And we are still working with many different families who have been denied their chance to stay in New Zealand because of their disability and health condition. And next slide, please. And this is direct breach of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability as well, because Article 18 ensures that disabled people also have the freedom to choose their residence and to a nationality on an equal basis with others. And the United Nations Committee has recommended the New Zealand government to review and scrap the policy, this ASH policy, but the government has responded that they don't think that this policy should be removed. And so can you skip to the last slide, please? We are calling for the immigration policy to be reviewed and also move towards fertility-based immigration because the way the immigration policy has come about reflect the colonization process, and the whole process has to be decolonized. And Dr. Aramurata and Kafu Kukutai has written a really important article around what TICA approach to immigration look like, and I wouldn't have time to go into it, but I recommend everyone to go have a read of that article and really think about how we can move the immigration space to be fertility-based immigration policy. So thank you, and I will hand over to the next speaker.
Thank you, Umi. And just before I pass on to Anu, I just want to mention, please feel free to leave your comments in the chat, and there's also a Q&A function. So also please feel free to pop in any questions that you have using the Q&A. Anu, over to you.
Thanks, Anjum. He Migrant Workers Association o Aotearoa taku mahi, ko anu taku ingoa. Kia ora te whanau, kia ora tātou. Thanks for organising this forum. It's a very, very important space that we all need to navigate, and we need to navigate collectively. Many of the points that Umi has already touched upon, so I guess I'll try not to repeat and just try to build on that. So with Migrant Workers Association, we've come across many cases that have shocked us over the years. So I'll just start with like a typical journey of a migrant worker coming into Aotearoa. So over the years, we've had largely people coming in as international students, for example, 2 or 3 countries, China, India, and a few others. And people come here with the hope that they will find more opportunities, they'll have better futures, and there's nothing wrong. Every person on this earth has a right to better themselves, so it's absolutely fine to do that. However, sadly, most of these individuals come from very low socioeconomic backgrounds, so huge amounts of debt just to come here and to study here. To give you some perspective, it can cost up to around 30,000 New Zealand dollars per year for a student to study here, and that amount is the fee they pay to their school or their university, and their living expenses, and whatever else basic amenities that they need to access. So it's a very expensive task, and people who don't have much money to start with, they incur debt. They'll sell their assets or their agricultural land, families pitch in. So it's a not a good position to start with. So they arrive here. More often than not, the colleges they end up at are very, very substandard, off-field. Then their journey of moving from one temporary visa to the next starts. And we know of several individuals, families who've been here on that temporary basis for a decade or more quite easily. And sadly, some of them have also become what is commonly known as overstayers. In other words, they've not had valid visas for quite some time. Some of these families have children born here in New Zealand. So we were looking at tamariki who've been deprived of the very basics. So Umi was talking about the United Nations Convention for people with disabilities. So, you know, this country is also violating the rights of a child under the UN Convention with those families where tamariki are born here and they don't have any status. I won't spend too long on this part, just very briefly, other scenarios that we've come across where people have been exploited in their jobs. You know, they're made to work in really horrendous conditions for a very little pay, mostly below the legal minimum wage. There have also been cases where people have not been paid at all. They've been made to work for 2 meals a day and really substandard accommodation, or where people do have proper jobs, they have written employment agreements, but the employer is not fulfilling their obligations as an employer. People are underpaid and made to do tasks that are not part of their job. People made to work in unsafe conditions. And that doesn't just affect that particular migrant worker on a temporary visa, that has wider implications. It puts everyone else around them at risk too. We saw a lot of this in the COVID lockdowns, where people were being forced to work when they shouldn't have been. And in that particular scenario, the spread of COVID then becomes an issue if people are forced to work and not allowed to stay home under those conditions. So that kind of in a nutshell is what a lot of migrants go through. And then the fear that they live in is the threats from the employers and also other middlemen that the employers may have used of deportation. That's always used against the workers. If you don't do X, Y, Z, we'll have your visa cancelled, we'll have you deported. Not only that, families back in the home countries are also threatened by these greedy, exploiting bosses and their sidekicks. So yeah, briefly, that's the kind of scenario we're looking at, and especially with Tamariki, parents aren't sending them to school because those children don't have valid visas. So quite often schools don't accept them, or parents are just fearful that if they do send the children to school, they'll get found out and then they'll get deported. No access to proper healthcare. So a lot of the things that we all take for granted that don't exist in the world of migrants who live in fear constantly. Next slide is what is broken. So immigration settings, they've not been right from the word go, as we saw with our previous speaker, that the sort of language used 100+ years ago. While we don't have the issue of language anymore, but the problem still exists. Our immigration policy is basically very, very Eurocentric, which is a huge problem. It does not recognize tangata whenua. It does not recognize the first peoples of this country, of Aotearoa. And also we see more often than not, it's economics takes preference over people and access to. So recently you might have seen our current immigration minister talking about highly skilled migrants. That just equates to they want people with degrees coming out of their ears and people who can bring in money, people who will not be burden on the system. So that it is just code for that. So it's just money, profit before people. That's a huge problem here. At Migrant Workers Association, we are strong believers of each individual can only contribute according to their own ability, but each individual needs to access according to their needs. That has to be the kaupapa. And if we need to take the tiriti-based approach to migration, and as soon as we do that, I am a strong believer that kaupapa will be honored, that each person has their own needs that need to be addressed, irrelevant of the economics that the current government is so focused on, and previous governments too. I'm not giving a free pass to anyone in the past. And then we have certain privileges for certain countries. We have visa waiver countries, which happen to be mostly Western European countries. For example, someone with a UK passport, a British citizen or national, can just come in here to visit for up to 6 months out. Some other countries, people can only come in for 3 months, but still it's much easier for largely, I won't hesitate to say this, people who are white. It's much easier for them to come into Aotearoa, and also settlement. So I wear another hat. As of the last 4 or so years, I've been a licensed immigration advisor. So what I see in my client base is quite, it affirms. I've had clients, families, white family from South Africa. The entire family's been overstairs for 5-6 years, and it was so much easier for me to get them through the system as compared to an Indian man who's married to a Maori lady. They have 3 children. They've been together for nearly 10 years. So that Indian man's just been given a 3-month visitor visa, whereas the South African family's just been given residence, no questions asked. So the difference is there. That's racism, you know, let's call it what it is. And then overall, over the years, we've seen the stance or there's been more temporary visas issued as compared to long-term visas or residence visas issued. So the drive has been to keep migrants on a temporary basis longer and keep them displaced longer so that they get frustrated, give up and leave. And then they just get replaced with a new set of migrants on temporary visas. And then that whole cycle just keeps perpetuating. And it keeps migrants in precarious position out, and they find it very, very difficult, and they're fearful of voicing out and seeking their employment rights. So, you know, our immigration policy is the way it is by design. It's not an accident. And like I've already said, that there's a violation of many, many international conventions that Aotearoa is signatory to. Next slide, please.
Yeah, you're at 10 minutes. I know,
okay, I'll very, very quickly. So the short-term and the long-term fixes, no one organization or person can do it alone. We need to be collective, have a collective approach in this. So very quickly, what we're asking for, have been asking for a long time, is to stop bondage of migrant workers to their employers, and human rights need to be prioritized over our immigration law. There needs to be equity for our migrant workers, same rights as New Zealand workers. And yeah, decolonization again is a whole thing in its own right. That's probably not long enough to discuss that. So yeah, collective approach is the way we need to go. Thank you. Thanks. Sorry for going over time.
No, all good. Thanks so much, Anu. I mean, these are very important issues, so really appreciate your time here. I'll pass over to Panja, please.
Kororia ki te atua e runga rawa, e mongorongo ki te mata o te whenua, whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. E ngā iwi, e ngā reo, e ngā karanga maha, e mihi atu nei ki a koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko Panja Narayanan toku ingoa. Lovely to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to share. I belong to a group of volunteers around the country, and we are 26 multicultural councils around the country, from Whangarei all the way down to Invercargill, and Multicultural New Zealand is the umbrella organization, and I chair the organization as part of my volunteering. It will be tending to trivialize all the 6 million hours of work volunteers have done over the years since 1986 in 10 minutes. So please, if you look at our website, you'll find rich resources there on any topic. And we always say when our people come together, we have the finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening in the communities. And also we speak the truth to government from our experiences in the communities. Our principle, ethos, is very simple. We try to make the settling in outcome for more recent immigrants to be better than what we have had. I came into the country in 1986. It's quite a different world today. What I wanted to cover today was just 4 key things. And I'd like to echo some of the things that Umi and Anu have shared as well in terms of the respect and in terms of respect for tangata whenua. Multicultural New Zealand, we were the conscience of the New Zealand ethnic communities well before the Office of Ethnic Communities was set up or the ministry. And many of them were volunteers, many of them have passed on as well, and may their souls rest in peace. If I can just share the first, Horahiho, a pathway to treaty-based multicultural communities, living in harmony, but fundamentally people being safe in communities. I'd just like to read what Dame Iritana Tofifirangi shared at one of our gatherings. She's Fire from Te Atiawa out here in the Hutt Valley. How does the treaty relate to multiculturalism in the future of this country? New Zealand will be a wonderful place to live in once we start actually trying to come together and respect our differences, because all the cultures bring a beautiful, colorful mosaic. It's these kind of philosophies that need to guide our policy, immigration policy, so that we do not take jobs away from people who are already here. And more importantly, that we do not put tangata whenua aside, but rather put tangata whenua at the center of immigration policy. And then she finishes by saying we have to change the language, the narrative, change the framework through which we relate to each other and respect the contributions that we can all make to this country, on the premise that everybody in this country is an immigrant. Doesn't matter when we came in, whether it is in the 8th century, 12th century, or the 18th or 19th, 20th century. Can we please move to the next slide, please? Horahiho, pathway. This was a gift, this name was a gift from tangata whenua, a blessing for us to take that journey towards making this a treaty-based multicultural society. It's inevitable. Those two elements are inevitable. Treaty is a fundamental document for this country. And as we have more and more immigrants coming into this country, with tangata whenua extending the same concessions that they extended to the original signatories of the treaty, we are by default becoming a multicultural society. But the fundamental, the foundation is the bicultural element that led to the signing of the treaty, founded on that. And that many migrants coming to New Zealand, this is another thing that we are aware of, that they have little or no knowledge of Maori as tangata whenua, or of Te Treaty or Waitangi as the founding document of this nation, is because our immigration policies doesn't promote it as a bicultural nation. Right? And I have been subject to that as well. Personally, if I hadn't gone out to look at what is this Te Treaty, I wouldn't have had no reason to understand Te Treaty, right? And it cannot be left to just the communities and individuals coming into the countries. I think as a country, we need to have policies that put it in front of people who come into this country. And the stride of the country has made, this country has made to address historical wrongdoings. We don't share these kind of stories to potential immigrants coming into this country. And they are left, once they arrive into this country, particularly immigrants, not necessarily refugees, they tend to go into, they look out for people of their own ethnicity and tend to just stick in that group and at the risk of developing enclaves. So we are a community group that says, hey, we are here, we have all the good and bad experiences, come and talk to us, come to our website, and come and participate in all our activities that we have. And those activities are centered around keeping the community safe, keeping women safe, keeping children safe. And we don't give advice directly, we show them where to go. So if you come to our website, you'll find that is a rich set of material for people to pick up. If they wanted to participate, they can. If they wanted to use that information, they can too. Can we please move to the next slide? please, Anjum. Anjum, am I? Yeah, thank you. Third slide, please. We have moved on to the fourth slide. Thank you. The migrant workers have the same minimum employment rights as all other employees under New Zealand law, right? And I pick up what Anu was saying and also what Umi was saying as well. The words are equitable. The words are in terms of eliminating exploitation, the same rights. And in that sense, this country is unique. There are very few countries that are like New Zealand where they present this, but I'm not sure it's being practiced. Our laws say this, right? And the minimum rights include having a written employment contract, being paid at least the minimum wage, right? And getting 4 weeks annual holiday after 12 months of continued employment, basic, right? Given to everybody. And we need to emphasize in our immigration policies these aspects. And I don't think that we do well. And we speak the truth to government. So when we talk to ministers, we do share that there are the gaps between what is in law and what is being practiced. Can we move to the final slide, please, Anjum? Finally, these are the values for safety in the community that we practice. We are welcoming, we don't differentiate between immigrants and refugees. Whoever comes into New Zealand, we believe that they have a right to lawfully be in New Zealand. And it works both ways, and it applies to more recent immigrants as well. Aroha, giving without expectations. Korera Aufi, positive communication. Whakapapa, knowing who we are and where we have come from. New Zealand doesn't expect us to lose our love for our homelands. We are all iwi take take. We come from we are native of some land, somewhere, right? And Maori respect that cultural heritage and the ancestors that we come through. And this is not shown in immigration policy quite explicitly. Whanaungatanga, strong support connections. Immigrants coming into the country need to be connected to them rather than going into enclaves. Mana manaki, people who are here already taking care of these people who are coming into the country, going out. It's a small country of 5 million people, right? And the country was built on communities supporting more recent immigrants, going back into the 18th century as well. Tikanga, knowing what the right way of doing things are, right? Kaitiakitanga, taking care. We have borrowed this land from our grandchildren, right? We need to make sure that we leave it safe for them as well. And finally, kotahitanga, working together. A small country, a lot of things happen as we work together. So if I think I'm on 10 minutes, I'll leave it there and I'll try to take it on questions and comments and feedback as well. Thanks, Anjum. Over to you.
Thank you, Pancha, and thank you to all of our speakers. An excellent job, and I'm really sorry that I had to cut you a little bit short there, Anu, and hopefully also that we will be able to catch some of that within the question. So please feel free to pop your questions in the chat. I see there's a question for you, Anu, in the chat already from Grace around around the Eurocentric policy, and she recalls you were talking about the Indian man given a 3 months visitor's visa after many years here, and the South African family residency, no questions asked. But what was the South African's family situation? So was there any other explanation possible, I guess, is what the question is.
So I answer now? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So just to give you more background, the South African family, the couple came over on work visas. so they had children, and the husband had a work visa which lapsed due to his injury related to work, and ACC took forever. And in the process, the wife's visa had lapsed, and they hadn't made any active efforts to renew or do anything with Immigration New Zealand. And the children, none of them had visas. They were, most of them were born here, but they didn't even have passports because they all needed South African passports, and they hadn't done any of that. Whereas the other family, the Indian man, he came here as a student, finished his study, and then he wanted to study further, but did not have enough money, so they did not give him another student visa, and he became unlawful at that stage because he could not afford to go back, not just financially, but the entire social pressure and the burden of shame that he would carry returning, and this amount of social pressure around those kinds of things. So he stayed on working for cash unlawfully, and his partner and the amount of evidence that I have been provided by the Indian man and his family is just outweighs the amount of evidence I was provided by the other family. And I submitted those two applications through the same channels, and I worked equally hard on both sets of applications, and I was somewhat confident that I would get similar outcomes. However, I did not. So just to add a bit more with the South African family. So the residents of the children still don't have their passports because South African authorities apparently take up to a year. So that application has been put on hold pending passport issuance. Whereas if that was, I'm pretty sure that was the Brown family, they would have deportation orders by now. But the system is prepared to hold on and grant them their visas as and when the passports are issued. Whereas, yeah, sorry, I'll leave it there. I think that kind of shows the stark difference in the approach.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. So please keep adding your questions into the chat or the Q&A function. I see we've got one question there in the Q&A section. So it says, if a treaty-based immigration policy is the way to go, how can migrants build their understanding of of te tiriti and treaty breaches and justice for Māori when often their own conditions are precarious in Aotearoa? That's a great question, and you know, there's I know often that there's a lot of tension and difficulty in getting access to that information, and our organisation offers te tiriti training particularly focused around the experience of ethnic minority communities in Aotearoa, recognising that not all of them are migrants, and also recognising that not all migrants are people of colour. And so that example, Anu, that you took the time to share with us shows how clearly that that works. But I'll open the floor. Pancha, did you want to answer that question to start with?
Thank you, Anjum. A lovely question. It's a question that we are all grappling with. Multicultural New Zealand, what we do is we conduct noho marae. We do not believe that the best way to raise awareness of te tiriti is by a legal framework or looking at the text. We believe it is better that the story is told on a marae based on the perspectives of local tangata whenua, and in a context where, and our experience has been that immigrants, quite implicitly, we connect with tangata whenua. It is the Westminster policies that keep us apart from that connection. Culturally, we connect quite implicitly. So we believe it is best that the treaty is taught through local folklores, stories from the mouth of Maori, local Maori. So we do that, and it's a program, and we want government to make sure that every immigrant who comes into the country is given that opportunity. So we are putting a proposal to government based on the 20-odd Noho Marais that we have done. So totally agree, totally understand, and I think that this will change over time.
Thank you. Omi, did you want to say anything about that?
Thank you, Angeline. I think Pancha covered it all, but I think the reality that migrants don't have access to the knowledge of fertility when we come to the country, I think it's the reflection of how deep the colonization is still current in the country. Because if we have fertility was honored, that is not the question that we ask.
Thank you. We've got another question that's just come through. Ka nui te mihi ki a koutou. From a migrant perspective, what might a decolonised immigration system look like? Noting that mana motuhake of tangata whenua would inherently shape this. And actually, excellent question, because that's a question that I myself might have asked participants. So what would it look like, you know, if we had a decolonised immigration system where we recognised mana motuhake of tangata whenua? I would like to start.
Do you want?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Anu. I think you're cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, I think firstly it's the West that, you know, keep us divided, but can just 1 second.
Yeah, carry on. We can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I think that it's also the Westminster policies that need to unite us at this stage, you know, while they've kept us divided. Many migrants who come to Aotearoa have had the same colonizer as Aotearoa. So it's a very unfortunate way of sharing our past, but I think that needs to happen so that we can all understand each other well. And I also do tautoko that migrants need to be better equipped of knowing the history of this country that they have migrated to. And like Pancha said, let's not leave it to individuals or like NGOs or voluntary organizations. There needs to be more of a concerted effort here that needs to happen systemically. What would a decolonized migration policy look like? I think firstly, we need to stop having that bias in the system, whether it's a conscious one or an unconscious one. We need to remove the bias and the privilege towards people of certain color and people from certain countries. The policies need to be designed better. And not only that, then they need to be implemented in an equitable fashion. So another prime example at the moment, Palestine. You know, the immigration minister says that it's not a visa issue, it's a border issue. And then the person who was responding to that, I forget their name, they were from the Palestinian community. They were like, let's issue that, have that visa available to start with. And then that we start on a journey of then dealing with the border issues that Palestinians have. So, you know, those kinds of examples, there are plenty of. If there's a political will there, this is not a difficult a problem to fix. It can be done. We need to have the political will, and we as a collective need to keep putting pressure on to move the government off the day and the future governments.
Thank you, Anu. I'll go to Pancha and then Umi.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to keep this very brief. The big difference in New Zealand is I come from Malaysia. The colonizers left. In many countries, the colonizers left, whereas in New Zealand we have a settler. The colonizers have settled in this country, so they have become part of this country, and therefore we have this dilemma. That is one. But in a decolonized world, and we have actually thought about it, but not in a context of decolonization, because the demographics of people coming into the country has changed from year 2000, because my forebears here have been pushing for assessment not based on ethnic selection or race, but rather on qualification, experience, and skills. And we have pushed NZQA to build that capability to do that assessment. I don't think as a country we are doing well enough, but that framework is already there. And as community groups, I think we need to make sure that these assessment procedures are evaluated from time to time, given the changing world around us. So I just leave it there for now, Anjum. If there's any question on this, I'll take it up.
Yeah, Uni, please go ahead.
Thank you. From our perspective, fertility-based and decolonized migration policy would look like something that would not discriminate against based on people's disability and health condition, and would honor the original way that the disability was understood within Te Ao Māori, which sees people's strengths regardless of any disability people have.
Yeah. Thanks, Uni. And I'll just add a couple of comments there myself, just to add to the disability kōrero. We find the same attitudes applied to immigration of older persons. So again, they're measured by the cost, not by what they bring in terms of social stability, family stability, the time to invest into the community. Often they've had the opportunity to build up resources over their lifetime, which they can bring in terms of wisdom and so on. And so if you look at the demographics, for example, for our community, 5% of our population at the 2013 census was over 65, whereas the average of the country was 20%. So you can see the impact that has on a community when you don't have your elders there is huge. And it is simply because of that model of measuring people through an economic lens, rather than looking at a whole society social benefit lens. And yeah, also I think, you know, when I think to a Te Ao Māori approach, to me the important thing is the values piece that Pancha put up, you know, bringing a whole different set of values, and also a whole different way of thinking about equity as well. I think that those things will flow through then to what the actual policies would be. And I just want to recognise that the way that racism works is that it is ingrained and embedded, so that even those who are the targets of racism often absorb the racist narratives towards other communities than our own. And so, for example, like our Bridging Cultures program is very much about how do we address the racism between different communities, as well as racism from, you know, the majority community. So I'm just looking that there are not any further questions. So I just want to open the panelists to just have a 1-minute final comment if there's anything that you would like to add or anything that you missed out, just very briefly.
I
Yes.
would like to just thank all the other panelists and the question that has come through. I think it really shows how this policy impacts all of the communities, and racism excludes certain group of people from coming to the country. But like Pancha and Anjum and Anu all highlighted, when the policy is based on values and fertility, that would allow every one of us to contribute to the country in a way that enhance each other. So it's really a rich conversation we had here, and I'm very excited that we had this opportunity.
Thank you. Pancha.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the panelists and the people who have attended this webinar. One thought, somewhere in close to year 2000, when policies in Australia changed, we had a lot of people leaving the country, right? We are at the risk of doing the same now. we have always, as multicultural in New Zealand, didn't want people to use New Zealand as a stepping stone into Australia. If we don't take care of immigrants coming in, if we don't get our rights for employees right, and we don't remunerate them well, we are going to potentially have another exodus of people going out of the country. So we have to do better. Just want to have this thought, put this thought here. Thank you to the panelists as well. And thank you to Anju. Thank you to you for chairing this session.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Anu, any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you to fellow panelists, and thanks Anjum and all the organizers working behind the scenes, and the attendees who've asked some very thought-provoking questions. Thank you very much. And yeah, I feel like this is the beginning of something very important and worthwhile, and we should keep pushing and we should keep working together, especially the current political and economic environment. It becomes even more important for us to get equity for all, and I think our strength lies in unity, united as the workforce of Aotearoa, which is very, very multicultural, and it consists of tangata whenua, Pākehā who've been here for generations, and newly arrived migrants. And I think people, the system is very good at people in different boxes. So I think we need to unite so that we can get some equity here for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a rich source of information and knowledge we've received today. And I really want to acknowledge the heart of our speakers, each of you, and the compassion, the time and energy and the activism that you bring to your work. And, you know, I know each one of you, and, you know, I've had dealings with Umi and supporting her work, as well as Non-Pancha for a long time, and Anu as well. And so I know personally how much you give to the things that you're so passionate about. So I really appreciate that. So in closing us off, I'd also like to thank all the sponsors that have made this event possible. And yes, as you can see, that there are many, and this slide just gives us, you know, the beauty of the collective, of when we have all of these organisations coming together and supporting an event like this. And I know that there have been a whole amazing series of events throughout the week. So yes, thank you to all of these people that have made it possible. I'm going to finally close off with a karakia, and hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te titiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te manawa nui, mā te aroha, ka taia e au. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Kia ora.